Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Modesty's Property Corner. This is season 1, episode number 12. How are you? It's midweek again, and we all know what happens live here at noon every midweek. It's that time of the week when we come to discuss everything property, mortgages, and property-related issues as pertains to UK property markets. I remain your man, Ikenna Umezudike, and I know you guys are doing well, and I hope everyone is okay.
Bluetooth
all right,
connected.
Let's get this started. So today we are going to be, discussing the UK House Price Index report as prepared and presented by Zoopla. Zoopla is the second largest property platform in the UK after Rightmove. So they present this house price index report on a monthly basis. So this one is the February 2022 UK house price index. So this report is so detailed and contains a lot of information and gives you an insight, gives you an insight into what the property market has been like 1 year to the date of that report. So this report was actually released on the 29th of March, but it relates to February 2022. So this is an opportunity for us to know what has happened 1 year to February 2022 in the UK property market. I hope you are ready for this. I remain your man, Ikenna Umezudike. I'm the director of Modesty Property Consultants Limited based in the UK. I'm also a mortgage advisor with the Independent Mortgage and Loan Company. So today, looking at this report, I'm just going to give you a few highlights of what this report entails, and then we're going to do a little bit of analysis of the information on those highlights and the happenings around the UK property market in 1 year to February 2022. And then we're going to draw a comparison between what that report says and what the 5-year average has been like. So that will give us a better perspective of how well, how poorly, how balanced, or how average, or how this particular report compares to the 5 years average in terms of the property performance in the UK property market. So what we learned from this report is that the UK house prices grew by 8.1% in the year to February 2022. So between February 2021 and February 2022, the UK house price grew by 8.1%. Right? That's one of the highlights from that report. It also told us that there has been a 65% increase in demand for house purchases. House purchase demand has increased by 65% in the year to February 2022. In fact, 4 weeks to 20th of March 2022, the increase in the demand for house prices, for house purchases, has been 65% when you compare that to the 5 years, UK 5 years average. Again, there has been a slight increase in the supply of houses for sale on the market. So that increase amounts to 5% increase when you compare to the UK 5 years average. So there has been a 5% increase in supply and a 65% increase in demand compared to 5 years average. That is for 4 weeks to the 20th of March 2022. Within the same period as well, there has been an increase in the number of sales that have been agreed, property sales that have been agreed. Property sales have increased by 29%. Yeah, in the 4 weeks to March the 20th. There's some kind of okay. Sorry, we're experiencing a technical problem on one of our channels. Okay. All right, so we're back. So 29% more sales have been agreed, right? in the 4 weeks to 20th of March, when you compare that to the UK 5 years average, according to the Zoopla House Price Index. I hope you are taking note of, these statistics, because we're going to come to the analysis of these statistics, later on. Also, in terms of stock availability, like, availability of houses for sale on the market, compared to the 5 years UK average, 4 weeks to the 20th of March, there has been a 42% drop, right, in the number of stocks that are available for sale on the market. This is a measure of how much properties are coming on the market, or how many properties are coming on the market for sale. There has been a 42% drop when compared to the UK 5-year average. We have mentioned the increase in demand for properties, but specifically the type of properties that is experiencing a greater level of demand are family homes, right? The 3, 4, 5 bedroom houses and upward. Family homes are in greater demand within this period, and that is what this report has picked up. And in the property space, we are seeing this every day. People who are looking to move, people who have families, who are looking for bigger space for their families, are the people who are mostly demanding for properties that they want to buy now, because especially with properties with outdoor spaces, those are the kind of properties that people are really into at this moment in time. Again, we're going to come to the details of why this is happening when we're analyzing these figures later on. Okay. Now, in terms of the house price growth, Wales remains the top region, the top area that has been topping the charts for house price growth. Wales have been on the top of the chart for 12 months in a row. So for the 12th month in a row, Wales has experienced the highest house price growth in the whole of UK, and house prices have grown by 11.8% in Wales alone, and they have topped the chart for 12 months in a row. That's amazing. So if you're interested in properties in Wales, or if you have properties in Wales, or if you intend to buy properties in Wales, or if you have any sort of interest in properties in Wales, this is an indication of how well the property market is performing in Wales. Again, we're going to come down to the analysis and give you a little bit of a hint on why this is and what it is all about, and why Wales remains on the top of the chart. But in contrast to Wales and 11.8% growth, the region, surprisingly to some people, that has experienced the least growth is London. London house prices have grown by just 3.2% in the year to February 2022. And, it's really not that much of a surprise to some of us in the property space, because London house, when you talk about growth, and when the pandemic hit, London was one of the biggest areas that was hit hardest by the pandemic, because there was this massive drive out of London. There was this massive exodus out of London by people who bought properties in London, who were living in London simply because they wanted to live close to where they worked. And when the pandemic hit, and then the flexibility that people, we keep having this challenge on one of our channels, and we'll keep trying and we'll keep getting back on, right? So if you're watching us on Facebook and you're experiencing these issues on Facebook, we really apologize. This is completely beyond our control, and we're just gonna try and make it up to you. So we're gonna keep trying to get you back on live on Facebook. Okay, now this massive exodus of people out of London really affected the London property market, and was the reason why the house price growth in London has been lagging behind other areas all this while. Although it started picking up again with the relaxation of all the pandemic rules, and with the relaxation of all the restrictions, the London market is picking up again. But In the year to February 2022, the London house price growth has been at 3.2%. Now, the average house price of the property in the UK, the UK average house price now, according to Zoopla, stands at 242,500. That is 245,200. That is the average house price of the average property in the UK. Remember, the average house price is is an aggregate of all the properties in the UK. That includes England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. So when we bring all these regions and the house prices together and then take an average, the average house price of the average property in the UK now stands at 245,200. So it all sounds like it's been a busy start to the year, and indeed it has been, because usually under normal circumstances, the property market is usually a quiet one, especially in the first couple of months at the beginning of every year. But what we are seeing at this moment in time is different from what the norm is. It's not, the market is not even following the norm. I mean, look at the statistics in terms of the demand compared to the 5 years average. First of all, there has been a 65% increase in demand in this 1 year up to February 2022 compared to the 5 years average. So if the 5 years average is here, the demand just within this 1 year up to February 2022 is 65% higher. That just gives you a perspective of how busy it has been, especially in the beginning of this year. Also, notice that the house price growth, of 8.1% is a little of a drop from what it was as at November, December 2021. As at November, December 2021, the UK house price growth closed at double digits. The average closed at double digits. But in February, we're seeing a single digit figure in terms of the UK house price growth. So that kind of tells that the house prices have dropped slightly, a little bit, which is expected at this time of the year when it's not expected to be that busy. But then it has been busier than normal. And at 8.1%, it is still a significant level of increase at this time of the year. So in the year to February 2022, recording 8.1% average growth is still a very positive move in the property market as far as the house price growth is concerned. So what does this tell us in terms of the average house price growth? It simply tells us that even if there has been a little bit of slowdown in activities, the level of activities in this first quarter of the year, especially within these first 2 months of the year when this report was prepared, is significant enough to show us that it has been a busy start to the year. Again, that busy start to the year is also reflected in the fact that more properties are now coming to the market. So there has been a 5% rise in the number of properties that have come to the market compared to what the UK average has been over the last 5 years. So there was acute shortage of supply last year, right? But then now we are beginning to see sellers coming back to the market gradually. House price stocks are beginning to increase, even though it is still not at the same level that it was supposed to be pre-pandemic. But over the last 5 years, the level of stock increase has increased compared to what it has been over the last 5 years in the year to February 2022. So we're beginning to see sellers come to the market a little bit more. And why are sellers coming to the market? The reason is simple. Sellers want to take advantage of the pandemic demand. The pandemic driven demand of properties is driving sellers and encouraging them to come to the market because they see it as an opportunity at this moment in time to lock in their gains. Because the demand is very high and the supply still hasn't been able to meet the demand, sellers are wanting to take advantage of that situation, because people are willing to buy the properties, but they are looking for properties to buy. So even with the 5% increase in supply still remains short. It's still not enough to satisfy the level of demand that we are experiencing in the marketplace. So the increase of 5% still does not satisfy that demand. The demand is still very high because it's driven by the pandemic, and it's also driven by the desire of people to buy a different kind of home. The type of home that people are looking to buy right now are the type of homes that have more outdoor spaces, and people are looking for homes that will be more befitting for them and their families. We're still apologizing for those of you who are joining us on Facebook. We're still experiencing technical issues. We'll keep trying to see if we can come back every time it goes off. So please, if it's distorting, please pardon us. It's not our fault. It's sometimes these technical glitches do happen. Okay, so now looking at the increase in supply, and when you compare it with the demand that is out there and why the demand is there, we are going to focus on an area where we have experienced an increase, which is Wales. We talked about Wales earlier on. Wales has experienced a house price growth of 11.8% in the year to February 2022. Why is Wales topping the chart all the time? And Wales has topped the chart for 12 consecutive months. Okay, that's amazing, isn't it? So why Wales? So according to Zoopla and what the property statistics available, when you see house price movements like that in areas, the analysis around that has suggested that house prices have, the areas that experienced the most increase in house prices are areas that the economic conditions in that region supports that house price increase. The type of properties in that region that are high on demand, the flexibility in working pattern these days supports that notion. So because of the way we work, people are willing to travel further afar, all right, wherever they can find cheaper properties. And Wales, if you look at the average house price in Wales, the average house price in Wales is about 186,200 or thereabout. And then you compare that to the average house price of the whole of UK, which is 245,200. You can see the difference. 186,000 in Wales and about 245,000 average in the whole of UK. So you can see why the properties in Wales are becoming attractive, because property prices in Wales are favorable. Property prices in Wales. So Wales looks like it's been an untapped area property-wise, and a lot of people who have found that opportunity to explore in Wales are taking advantage of it, taking advantage of the low property price in Wales, taking advantage of the fact that they don't really have to live close to where they are working, because they can now work remotely from home. And the kind of property they are looking for and they are looking at, they can find in Wales, and they can find it really cheap. So when put all these factors together, and cost of living in Wales as well appears to be friendly. Although there's a cost of living crisis in the UK currently, but for people who are coming from the cities and then going into Wales, they might find that the cost of living there is a little bit more bearable for them, more affordable, and saves them a lot more money. Then they buy a cheaper house, they can work remotely, and the house prices, the houses will keep appreciating over the years. So put all these things together, it gives them a serious motivation to go into Wales and buy and that's why Wales has seen consistent rise and consistent increase in prices, in house prices for 12 consecutive months. Wales has been topping the chart. So now the other thing that this report also revealed is about the house prices and the performance of properties in the largest UK cities. So looking at the cities and looking at those cities individually, Liverpool came out tops in terms of house price growth. Liverpool, house price in Liverpool increased by 10.3%, right? And that was closely followed by Nottingham. But then over the last 5 years, house prices have increased by 32% in Liverpool, and it has increased by 35% in Nottingham. So Liverpool topped the charts among the cities, of the largest UK cities. Liverpool is topping the chart in terms of house price increase, followed by Nottingham at 9.5% in the year to February 2022. There are about, this report tracks about 20 cities in the UK, and in our next session we're going to give you full details of those 20 cities in the order that they appear in terms of house price growth and which of them, but we now know the top two, right? So if you want to know where the other city, if you're living in any major UK city and you want to know how your city fared in the league table of house price growth, we're going to give you that in the next session next week. Yeah, but what we will not keep from you till next week is the one that is the bottom of the chart. So at the bottom of the chart of the largest UK cities, which one has topped the chart? The bottom of the chart is Aberdeen, right? Aberdeen in the last year to February 2022 have experienced a drop of 0.2% in house price growth. It's one of the few UK cities and UK regions that have actually experienced a negative growth of 0.2% in the last year to February 2022. And over the last 5 years, it has experienced an average of a negative growth of about 13%. So over the last 5 years, properties in Aberdeen have actually lost about 13.5% in value over the last 5 years on average. So it doesn't look like it's looking very encouraging for Aberdeen, but there are facts about Aberdeen that you need to understand. Aberdeen is a peculiar kind of area to maybe buy a property for investment and all that. Buy a property and you're expecting it to appreciate, because Aberdeen as a city is dependent on oil revenue. So the price, the movement in oil prices and the oil market, because it's an oil city. It's a city that thrives on the oil market, right? So if there is a sharp movement in activities in oil, it's bound to have a boomerang effect on the house prices in Aberdeen, because then that's what influences people's decision to either come and buy property to live in Aberdeen or not. A lot of people who come to buy properties to live in Aberdeen or to invest in Aberdeen are dependent on jobs and businesses that are related to oil. So if the oil market is a bit shaky, it might affect the property prices in Aberdeen. So because of its dependence on oil and oil-related businesses, Aberdeen presents, a peculiar challenge when it comes to house price growth. And that is why, while other areas might have been experiencing property growth, Aberdeen is experiencing a negative, price growth in property. When you look at the pandemic and how the pandemic has also affected activities, especially offshore activities and oil rigs and all the rest of them, you will understand why Aberdeen is not doing particularly as well as other regions. Okay, now so the largest price growth occurred within the areas that have favorable economic conditions, from what we have seen, and the areas where house prices are relatively affordable and relatively cheap, which is why we highlighted Wales as the top performer and has remained top performer for the last 12 months. So who knows what the UK property market is going to be presenting next. We don't know, but according to this report, we already know what the house price growth has been like. There has been a drop from the double digits it ended last year to a single digit in the year to February 2022. So what we are going to do is next week we are going to dig deeper into the other areas of this report that talks about affordability and that talks about growth in the UK cities. We're going to be focusing on some of the cities that have experienced house price growth and how much the growth has been. We're going to give you a rundown of those cities and what the house price growth has been like in those cities. And I guarantee you there are a few cities in that list that will raise a few eyebrows, and you'll be wondering, wow, how, I never knew that house prices appreciate this much in this area. There are certain areas that we have picked out that are really of interest, especially to people who want to invest in properties. If you're looking to be a property investor, these statistics are really important to you, because then it gives you an idea of areas and cities that you might be wanting to take an interest in, to take a look at and see if it has what you want and all the amenities that you need to get you to invest in those areas. So thank you very much for joining us, and we really apologize for the glitches. We apologize for the technical issues that we've experienced, especially those of you who are watching us on Facebook or wanted to join us on Facebook. Well, we don't have control over these things. When these technical glitches happen, they are completely beyond our control. But this is going to be available for you on YouTube. Once we get it uploaded on YouTube, we're going to send out the links, and it's going to be on all our social media handles for your consumption if you are unable to join us. So join us again next week as we dig deeper into this Zoopla house price index report for 2022 February, and I guarantee you there is a lot more to come next week. God bless you all. Have a lovely day and see you next week. Bye now.